Prime Time.
And joining me on the debate tonight, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Also joining me tonight, Sushmita Dev, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress, Ghanshyam Tiwari, Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Reena Gupta, Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, Sanjay Jha, author. But my first question goes to Dr. Amar Patnaik, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the Biju Janata Dal. And Dr. Amar Patnaik, I want to ask you, Draupadi Murmu represents a very important part of India's profile, which is she represents the backward Adivasis, she represents the fact that she's a woman, and she represents a tribe, the Santhal tribe, which has been the most backward of groups of people in this country, even 75 years after independence. Do you think it was the choice of Ms. Murmu that the NDA brought in that made the Biju Janata Dal put their lot behind her? Or do you think it is once again always about opposition being anti-Modi and therefore decisions being made on the basis of how the opposition can get numbers together for an anti-Modi style?
Navika, I think for us, people from Odisha, and which was made clear by our Honorable Chief Minister, she is an Odia, so it's for us, it's actually our pride, and she represents Odisha. This is extremely, a great moment for us. Besides this, the fact that she's a woman, and the fact again that our Chief Minister has always said that women are actually the double engine of growth in this country, particularly in our state. And of course, she belongs to very humble beginning, belongs to a very backward region. She has climbed up the ladder. So the fact that she represents something which is really good for the country, she represents empowerment of women, empowerment of people belonging to humble means, and empowerment of someone who has worked hard. So I think the consultation process that happened between our Chief Minister and Honorable Prime Minister of India was something which pleased the deal. In fact, our party, our Chief Minister has said that he would try, in fact we did, to try every vote from Odisha to be cast in our favor. So for us, she is our candidate. For us, she represents our pride. For us, she represents somebody who has worked hard to reach that position. She is a woman who has shown that by grit of her determination, grit of her hard work, she has reached the position where she is now.
Well, Sushmita Dev, she's an Odia, and that's natural for him to, that's the state pride, and he comes from Odisha, a party that represents Odisha. But on the other hand, he also talks about the attributes of her rising up the ranks. I want to ask you, as a woman, deep down your conscience, what would it tell you? Draupadi Murmu is no ordinary woman standing for presidential elections. Do you think you had a conflict in your heart about whether to vote for her or for Mr. Yashwant Sinha, and Mr. Yashwant Sinha's allegations about the government using ED, using CBI and horse trading happening? Do you think that really happened in the presidential elections? I want you to answer that question fair and square, looking at our viewers directly in the eye.
My conscience is crystal clear. A presidential election of this sort, and in the given background and backdrop of the country, is not about two individuals. Yes, it does matter which state they come from and what is their background. I mean, they have to be befitting candidates. But to say it is about a woman and it's only about the state she comes from and the community she comes from, totally misses out on the larger picture of the fact that the constitution is under threat. And a presidential post, which is one of the highest constitutional posts, is a position, a chair that protects and upholds the constitution. So I will not disrespect what my friend Dr. Patnaik is saying from the BJP. His emotions are well respected, but I'm going to say the way we are coming from is a totally different perspective. You see, coming from Bengal, we have seen the kind of attack federalism has been under. In Parliament, we have seen how bills which are not money bills have been pushed as bills and sent to the president's house for its assent, and it's been given. It's a much larger part, Navika. I respect every woman parliamentarian. I respect anyone who's risen from the ranks. It's nothing personal. And if you ask me about my conscience is clear. I am voting against the practice of turning a president's post, which is supposed to uphold the constitution, into an exactly opposite situation. That's the vote as far as my party is concerned. And I do not want to disrespect the candidate of the NDA alliance partners and whoever is supporting her. I respect everybody's opinions, view, but it's rather short-sightedness to say it's about the fact that she's a woman and she's a tribal lady. There's a much larger picture here which we must not miss. And when Yashwant Sinha ji said about ED and CBI and central agencies, that is also a very big issue that is occupying the political space in the country today. Please understand that it is but quite obvious that anybody who is warming up to the treasury benches, or who's close to the treasury benches, or is sitting on the treasury benches, have today escaped the investigation of central agencies. But politicians who are, or MPs, MLAs, or people connected or close to the opposition parties have been consistently targeted. There are a plethora of cases and reasons why BJP politicians should be investigated by the central agencies, but it's not happening. And be that as it may, that is very much on the mind of the people of India, and that's what Yashwant Sinha ji is referring to, that the pressure politics of central agencies and horse trading is something that is also what he's fighting.
You've clearly not answered the question. Was there horse trading in the presidential elections? Yes or no?
Well, let the ballot boxes open. Let the ballot boxes open. At least vis-a-vis Bengal, I can say there were several attempts to talk to our MLAs, and there were a lot of things being offered, and it was tried. And I met somebody today, and this is not hearsay. But a Bengal MLA clearly had an offer which he didn't take. So there were several attempts by the Bharatiya Janata Party to try and allure people undemocratically in a situation like this.
Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, that's a very serious charge being made by Sushmita Dev ji that the BJP has tried to allure people. And therefore, what Yashwant Sinha has also made a statement today is something that she says is true. Respond to those very serious charges being made.
Navika, I'll surely respond to what has been stated. But first, as we discuss this, history is being created, and history in many sense, first ever president who would be a member of the scheduled tribe community. History being created because there is a strong message about women being empowered. And let us see how the candidature of Draupadi Murmu ji received support, not just within the NDA, but from the Uddhav faction of Shiv Sena, from the JMM that has a government in alliance with the Congress in Jharkhand, from the BSP, and we have been told even Congress MLAs in Assam have cross-voted because they wanted to support the candidature of Murmu ji. The JDS and others too. What does it show? It shows that her candidature and choice by the Bharatiya Janata Party was an exceptional choice. And I heard Sushmita ji. I would like to just bring this fact out as well, that Mamata Banerjee, the tallest leader of the TMC herself made a statement that we would have also endorsed Murmuji's candidature if we were consulted. Now, I would like to say that shows that the selection was right and it was the perfect choice made in the interest of the country. Second, let us contrast this. Yashwant Sinha ji was the national vice president of the TMC. But Yashwant Sinha ji was not even asked to campaign within West Bengal. There must be a reason. Because Mamata Banerjee ji felt insecure that she might lose her vote bank of the scheduled tribe community. Now coming to the other part, you know, the 3-4 parties that are there on the screen tonight in the discussion, they can't even choose their party presidents. The Congress being represented by my friend Sanjay Jha, if I may say so. 3 years they have not been able to elect their own president. The TMC has only seen a president from one family, Mamata Banerjee, and nobody else has been given a chance. Samajwadi Party, the same story is repeated. Only one family is entitled to be the president of the party. And Aam Aadmi Party, it is only Arvind Kejriwal. How will these people understand the democratic values that should be present in running a party or a government or giving a president to the country? And I would end by only saying, regarding the charge being made of misuse of agencies, let me make it very clear that JMM, the BSP and other parties like the BJD decide to support the candidature, we have to accept that there is something very positive about Shrimati Murmu ji, and that is why on merit she is being supported. Don't be a sore loser like Yashwant Sinha and make these baseless allegations that there is horse trading or misuse of agencies.
Well, I want to ask you, Mr. Patnaik, are you also a party which is not part of the NDA, but are you also a party that lives under the threat of central agencies, number one, and number two, horse trading?
Absolutely not. In fact, I just would like to first comment on what has been said before. When we say that we are trying to protect the democratic values and the Constitution, in fact, one of the basic tenets of our Constitution is to provide this empowerment of the poor, of the underprivileged, of the disadvantaged, and on the SCs and STs of this country, the poor and the disadvantaged and the privileged. And aren't we prejudging by saying that someone who comes from that background, someone who is a woman, would probably not be able to read the Constitution or would not be able to dispense the kind of democracy that is being spoken about? I think this is being a great disservice to Srimati Draupadi Murmu, who has really worked hard at various levels and has started from the block chairman level and became a governor and now the highest constitutional position. As regards your question relating to misuse of central agencies and the point relating to horse trading, I think the results would be there in very quick time, and you would see that there is an unanimity in our party. Unanimity in our society in Odisha that she is the candidate that all of us should vote for. And you saw the one Congress MLA went ahead and voted for her because he was guided by his conscience.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But the point, I'll just give me
Sushmita Dev, where does that leave you? And a very pertinent question raised by Mr. Gaurav Bhatia. If you support Mr. Yashwant Sinha so much, why did he not come to Bengal? Why did you not have him seek the votes of people of Bengal?
See, you've asked me 3 questions. First of all, I'd like to say that if the BJP is batting so hard about empowerment of women and empowerment of somebody who belongs to the scheduled tribes community, let me please refresh their memories. Dr. Punna Sangma from the Northeast, Meghalaya, who's the father of Conrad Sangma and who was the Lok Sabha speaker, ran for president. And I don't think at that time the NDA viewed him as a tribal leader who needs to be empowered, number one. And if you are batting so hard for women empowerment, then one of the biggest political reforms, the Women's Reservation Bill, which the Prime Minister Modi promised 8 years back till today, is languishing. Somewhere the bill has not been introduced. So you can't say heads is also mine and tail is also mine. And I'd like to tell my friend, Dr. Patnaik, that it is crystal clear, at the cost of repeating myself, you're entitled to your views, and I mean no disrespect to a woman or someone who's a tribal or someone who's come up from the ranks. But I can tell you this much, that you can't make it just about that. It's about many other things. Why did Yashwant Sinha ji come to Bengal? For your kind information, Yashwant Sinha ji came to Bengal, met our leaders, and don't forget that Yashwant Sinha ji comes from the Trinamool Congress. He actually resigned from this party to contest the presidential election. So he didn't have to come to his party, which is his home and which is his family. He went to other states, and the time was very short, as you know. And I hope all that answers my question.
Absolutely.
So at the cost of
Theory and feisty Sushmita Dev gives it back to the BJP spokesperson Gaurav Bhatia. Absolutely.
Navika,
Yeah.
one very important thing which Gaurav Bhatia ji said, that Mamata Banerjee, the tallest leader of the Trinamool, said, I wish I knew Murmuji's name and I would have considered her. Let me once again burst the balloon of lies. She was asked publicly that why are you not supporting somebody who's a tribal lady, who's a woman? She said that the BJP first decided on the candidate and after that started approaching others. They never bothered asking them before. So it's imposing a candidate. So please do not for a moment mislead our viewers. BJP is an expert in pulling things out of context. Our candidate came as Yashwant Sinha ji, and it was a suggestion of Mamata Banerjee to actually give Yashwant Sinha ji's name as one of the candidates. So do not misrepresent facts.
Well, we'll come back to you, Gaurav Bhatia. Let me get in Reena Gupta ji. Reena Gupta ji.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, but Reena Gupta ji, I want to ask you, why is the opposition so hell-bent on just proving a political point? Because as far as the numbers are concerned and as far as the credentials of Draupadi Murmu ji are concerned, clearly many would say that she is a deserving candidate simply because, and it's not just a hollow representation of the backward, castes and tribes in this country. It's also about, bringing them right at the top of the country as the first citizen to give priority to those issues that demand the attention, because 75 years after independence, we still see these castes and tribes and populations way below the level of development that other parts of the communities are. So I want to ask you, is it just Modi Virod? Is it just anti-Modism that keeps the opposition going?
Navika, let me start by saying that, when we decided to support Yashwant Sinha ji for the president candidate, we at the onset said that we really respect Murmu ji and we are very happy that she has been nominated. However, in this day and age where the country is going through very tough times, and we know that the Bharatiya Janata Party has been trying to use all unconstitutional measures in the parliament itself. We saw how during the farm bill, they passed bills by the voice vote. They used all sorts of unconstitutional methods. They are a party that has been known to pass ordinances, one ordinance after the other. So in such tough times, the party discussed and the party agreed that we need somebody who has a track record of standing up to such unconstitutional decisions. And that is the reason why we supported Mr. Yashwant Sinha. As far as giving representation to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes is concerned, Navika, there are various ways of doing that. As Sushmita ji is also saying that why don't we go ahead and pass the women's reservation bill, which has been pending for so many years now, which is something that the Prime Minister had promised to pass. Let's do that. Let's get more women in the parliaments. Let's all political parties agree that we will give more tickets to people from the minorities, from the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and let's increase their voice in the parliament. However, at this time, we decided that Mr. Yashwant Sinha's candidature is something that we wanted to support, and that is the reason why we went ahead and supported.
Well, for a party that doesn't have any women ministers, you really hold up the cause of women in this country. Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, would you want to respond to both Sushmita ji and Reena Gupta ji?
Yes, surely. The women reservation bill has been brought up by Sushmita ji and also Reena ji. Let me refresh a memory of Sushmita ji. Mamata Banerjee and TMC was part of the UPA. It was passed in one house and then it was never tabled and passed in the other house. But you were sleeping at that time. And Sushmita ji, representative of Samajwadi Party, is sitting here. Do you know, you getting the support? Yashwant Sinha ji is getting the support from Samajwadi Party. Mulayam Singh Yadav ji, the chief of Samajwadi Party, had opposed the bill by saying, परकटी महिलाओं को हम कैसे समर्थन करें, ये बिल का फायदा परकटी महिलाओं को मिलेगा. On that principle, you should have rejected the support coming from Samajwadi Party, but you wouldn't. And for the Bharatiya Janata Party, let me just name two major feats that have been achieved. Highest representation of members of the ST community in the ministry, 8 of them, and the date of birth of Bhagwan Birsa Munda will be celebrated. This is a decision that was welcomed by members of the ST community, was taken by the Modi government. Now coming to the point that Navika, you were raising, these people are in a bad habit of opposing everything that is initiated by the Modi government, be it one rank, one pension, GST, Article 370, National War Memorial, CAA, Vista project, new parliament building, you name it, Navika. And this is the problem with the opposition. They have taken the term opposition too strictly and seriously. They feel that if they're in the opposition, they can't make any constructive suggestions. They can't build a consensus. They just have to oppose. And that is why people of India have rejected them.
But Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, while what you are saying, viewers will take a call on that. But the fact is that the BJP hasn't really tried and gone out of its way to get consensus building anyways. Many times, ahead of parliament sessions on important issues, all party meetings could be called. Even if you wanted support for the president's candidature, you could have called for an all-party support. You could have reached across the aisle, but the BJP also doesn't do that. So the question is...
No, that's not correct, Navika. I'll respond. I can't hear your audio, Navika.
Can't hear.
Can I respond, please? I think Navika has a bad video link. Yes, thank you.
Even I can't hear it.
So it's not correct, Navika, when you say that the Bharatiya Janata Party did not try to build a consensus, because there was a committee that was constituted. Rajnath Singh ji, one of the tallest leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party, reached out to other leaders and we did try to build a consensus. But these people, out of their hatred for Shri Narendra Modi ji, would never agree on a name. And look at the kind of insults that have been meted out towards Srimati Draupadi Murmu ji. The Congress spokesperson said she reflects evil ideology. Is it a way to respect a woman who has, led and who has held such high constitutional positions? Tejasvi Yadav called her Murti, a statue. For what reason? Tejasvi Yadav himself can't read one single line without the help of a written paper speech. And today a RJD spokesperson made a very insulting derogatory remark when he said, "Hum Draupadi ji ka चीर हरण नहीं करेंगे. It was on a nationally televised debate. Now I want to ask, you may not support the candidature, but such statements coming from opposition parties only show that they do not respect members of the ST community and they do not respect women, and this should be condemned.
Well, let me ask you, Dr. Sanjay Jha. You know what Yashwant Sinha has said about Dr. Manmohan Singh, and in that context about Rahul Gandhi. Those sound bites are viral on social media if you just do a search on Yashwant Sinha. The question is, Yashwant Sinha, a man who said Rahul Gandhi ऐसे घोड़े हैं बारात के जो आगे भी नहीं बढ़ते पीछे भी नहीं जाते बस खड़े हैं और मिस्टर डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को उनको बर्दाश्त करना पड़ता है. He is more acceptable to you, but not Draupadi Murmu. You know, is this all about anti-Modism?
Navika, I think, we are missing the elephant in the room in today's discussion. And I'll give you 3 examples of that. And the primary issue that we should be discussing is how BJP, and as a political party, they have a right to do so, but how they are taking the entire country for a ride by only indulging in synthetic symbolism or giving a cosmetic lip service to the welfare of the tribals or to the Dalits. Let me give you 3 examples. Do we remember that we had a very distinguished president, Dr. Abdul Kalam? And do we know today what the BJP is doing to the Muslims in the country? It's about time that we people on a very responsible channel, there is Mr. Patnaik, Mr. Bhatia, Mr. Tiwari, and the representative from the Aam Aadmi Party, my old friend Sushmita. The truth of the matter is, how can we just turn a blind eye because it's politically convenient to today believe that the BJP is on a major front-loaded run and everything that Mr. Modi does is the greatest magical politics? This is a party that only talked about a precedent in even Mr. Kovind being a Dalit. And shall I tell you the number of the laundry list of violence that has happened against Dalits since the BJP became in power in 2014? I mean, can we be so politically immoral, intellectually dishonest, and in my opinion, so crudely contemptuous of the collective wisdom of this country? I mean, Gaurav Bhatia here waxes eloquent on women, etc., etc. I want to ask him a question that at the end of the day, the principal fundamental of politics is what is your intention? And I do believe that you are talking about Draupadi Murmu, and I can also tell you this, Gaurav Bhatia, I have data with me, but I don't want to bore people with hard statistics. But the way your government has gone after environmental degradation, the way you have done deforestation, and that's where the Dalit, that's where the tribals live. Do you realize the kind of dislocation you have done? You have created forced migration. You have played into the hands of the large industries in this country who have exploited India's natural resources because they fulfill their corporate profits. And guess who's paid for it? The tribals, the Adivasis and the Dalits pay for it. And you will then indulge in this grand symbolism. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of this country, will talk about why we need to do things for women, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribe. Well, at the end of the day, you're doing nothing. But
well, Sanjay Jha, it's not good to have a very short memory. Remember the UPA years and the Sterlite and the Vedanta issues then. Just a little flashback. But Gaurav Bhatia, yes, you can rebut him, but let me first get in Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari as well. He hasn't spoken yet, so you can then combine both, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari also said, and then you can respond. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, today everybody here is coming out and talking about how much they respect women. But there is a statement that was picked up by Gaurav Bhatia ji about Parkati Mahilaएं. And I was there in Parliament when that statement was being made. And we saw the scenes. People literally had to be carried out by marshals, especially from your party, when the Rajya Sabha had passed the women's reservation bill. So if you're talking about symbolism, well, if the NDA or the BJP is being accused of symbolism of one kind, then talking well about women is a symbolism of another kind that the Samajwadi Party talks, and the Samajwad that the Samajwadi Party talks about. So I want to ask you, does Murmu not represent Samajwad?
Good evening, welcome to you, the viewers and the fellow co-panelists. I think if you have to look at the series of statements, 50 crore ki girlfriend, statement that Gaurav Bhatia will celebrate and you may defend on television, was by Narendra Modi, and you are welcome to criticize that statement even now if you want, but I don't.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Anything derogatory about women is going to be criticized by me. So please
play that soundbite.
By the way, Mr.
I waited for my turn. I waited for my turn.
Yeah, but since you are challenging me, I'm not a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm a journalist, and I stand up for the rights of women. And you don't have to challenge me. Challenge the other politicians and your own party of people. Please go on.
The recent infamy of Didi ko Didi is again against women, and as a result, BJP was routed. I don't think the media in India criticizes that. You criticize Narendra Modi on Didi o Didi this campaign that disrespects women. So let's not put moral compass on others. Let's debate the presidential elections. As far as presidential elections is concerned, look at the tribal government on 28 notified the new forest conservation bill. That is the right of tribal communities. The question is whether the president who represents the community stand up against these rules, because these rules are being brought in the name of ease of doing business and will help the capitalists of BJP. As far as the fight in this country is concerned, at a time when media is subdued, our institutions are subdued, we need a president who can build the strength of our democratic institutions. And if there is an example of that Gaurav Bhatia can present, then welcome to do that. I don't think that is under discussion. We are fortunate that we have very, very capable candidates. One, Gaurav Draupadi Murmu, and then Mr. Shiv Sena, who I have worked with. And Governor Draupadi Murmu has risen through her hard work and grit, and I respect that. But at the same time, when farmers were attacked, Yashwant Sinha stood for them. When youth were attacked and unemployment was brushed under the carpet, Mr. Yashwant Sinha stood for them. When federal structure was attacked, Mr. Yashwant Sinha stood for them. When judiciary was attacked, Mr. Yashwant Sinha stood for them. So maybe these things don't matter for BJP anymore, because for them, everything is about subduing themselves and their intelligence to Mr. Modi and pushing this country into this Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas headline, but under it, the toxic Hindu-Muslim hatred that BJP builds through various platforms.
Gaurav Bhatia, basically, the tenor of the debate is that the constitution is under threat, judiciary is under threat, media is under threat, of course, opposition parties are under threat. And the BJP is just running this country with their own writ of brute majority. Respond to the flurry of charges.
Yes. First of all, responding to Samajwadi Party, he was talking about Yashwant Sinha ji. Yashwant Sinha ji had commented, Navika, and I quote him, Mulayam Singh Yadav is an ISI agent. So if they believe so much about what Yashwant Sinha ji says, then immediately I think Samajwadi Party, being an party which has been founded by an ISI agent, should be disbanded. Second, they can't blame us. Shivpal Yadav ji, family member, not even voting for Yashwant Sinha. He said no, Draupadi Murmu ji is a better candidate. And now can they blame the pressure politics that they were alleging? No. Shivpal Yadav found genuinely that Draupadi Murmu ji is a more worthy candidate. Third, ST allied. Just a few months back they allied with OP Rajbhar. He decided to even support Draupadi Murmu ji. Now, what is the reason? Because they can't keep their own flock together. There is no ideology. There is only Mahima Mandan of one person, Akhilesh Yadav. Akhilesh Yadav lacks the leadership qualities that are required to lead from the front. After the elections are over, nobody even sees where he is. Is he raking any issues in the parliament? His attendance was a meager 35%. Now coming to the second point, destroying the constitution and democracy, let me make it very clear. Narendra Modi ji, every breath that he takes, he is strengthening the constitution and democratic structure of our country. There is no emergency which Indira Gandhi had invoked. You know, all judiciary is strong and powerful, giving verdicts for and against the government. That's the way it should be. Nobody has been superseded in the Supreme Court like happened in the Congress governments. And we have seen how Samajwadi Party ran Uttar Pradesh. There were communal riots. There was discrimination on the basis of religion. That is not happening.
Let me also remind you that when the Shiv Sena was your alliance partner under Bal Thackeray, you know, they voted for Pratibha Patil at that point in time in 2007 and Pranab Mukherjee in 2012 because he was a very senior parliamentarian.
So did we allege that there is horse trading? Did we allege that there is horse trading and misuse of agencies?
Please
also ask your research team
as they say, nothing succeeds like success. And in this particular election, it seems the chips are in favor of Draupadi Murmu. The numbers are in her favor. Given the fact that there are so many political parties that have come out to support Draupadi Murmu ji, apart from the alliance partners of the NDA, there is the Naga People's Front, there is the National People's Party, there is the All Jharkhand Students Union, Lok Janshakti Party, there is also the Tamil Manila Congress Mupna, there is Jansatta Dal Loktantrik, there is the also Jharkhand Mukti Morcha in alliance with the Congress Party, Suhel Dev Bharatiya Samaj Party, Janata Dal Secular. So it seems many political parties have gravitated towards the candidature of Draupadi Murmu. Yet, the opposition, of course it has a right to post another candidate. But the question is this just a short-term political fight and confrontation? Or is this really about anti-Modism? We leave this debate at that.